I was one step away from giving up. Then something small changed my direction. I remember the exact moment. I almost quit, not in a dramatic way, no tears falling down my face, no loud breakdown, no big speech about how everything was falling apart. It was quieter than that, way quieter. It was just me, sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing, feeling completely empty. That kind of empty that doesn't even hurt anymore. The kind where you're not even sad. You're just tired. Tired of trying. Tired of hoping. Tired of putting energy into things that don't seem to move. That's where I was, and if I'm being honest, I didn't even recognize myself anymore. Because I wasn't always like that. I used to be the person who believed things would work out. The one who kept going, even when things didn't make sense. The one who said, just give it time. But somewhere along the way, that version of me faded. Not all at once, just slowly, piece by piece, until one day I realized I didn't have anything left to give. I had been chasing something for years, something I believed in so deeply. It became part of my identity, not just a goal, but a direction, a purpose that I built my life around it, made sacrifices for it, said no to things because of it, stayed committed, even when it stopped making sense, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. Keep going, push through, don't quit. That's what everyone says, right? But no one really talks about what happens when pushing through starts to break you, when consistency starts to feel like punishment, when the thing you once loved starts to drain myself. To know what to do with that, because quitting felt like failure, but continuing felt like losing myself. So I stayed stuck in between for a long time, going through the motions, showing up, but not really being there, trying, but without belief, moving forward, but feeling like I was standing still. And the hardest part, no one really saw it, because from the outside, I looked fine. I was still functioning, still doing what I was supposed to do, still showing up where I needed to, but inside, I was already halfway gone. I remember one particular day, nothing special about it, just an ordinary day that somehow carried more weight than the rest. I had just got another erection, not the first one, not even close at a set point. I had lost count, and I wish I could say it didn't affect me anymore, that I had built some kind of emotional armor. But the truth is, it did every single time, not always in a big way, sometimes just a small crack, a quiet thought, a subtle shift. But those cracks add up until one day, something breaks, and that day, it did, not visibly, but internally. I read the message, closed my laptop, and just sat there, no reaction, no emotion, just stillness. And that's when the thought came, clear, simple, dangerous. What's the point? Not in a dramatic, hopeless way, just, honestly, what's the point of trying this hard if nothing changes? What's the point of believing if it keeps leading to the same outcome? What's the point of continuing if I don't even recognize myself anymore? And for the first time, I didn't have an answer. That scared me more than anything, because as long as you have an answer, you can keep going. But when that disappears, so does your direction. I sat there for a long time, longer than I realized, just thinking, replaying everything, all the effort, all the time, all the moments. I chose to keep going when it would have been easier to stop, and I asked myself something I had been avoiding for a long time. What if this isn't meant for me? That question hit differently, because it wasn't about failure, it was about identity. If this wasn't meant for me, then what was? Who was I without it? I didn't have an answer for that either, and that's when the idea of quitting stopped feeling like defeat and started feeling like relief, not dramatic relief, just quiet, like putting something heavy down after carrying it for too long. And for a moment, I allowed myself to imagine it, walking away, letting go, not trying anymore, not pushing, not chasing it, just stopping. And honestly, it felt peaceful. That's what scared me the most, because it meant I was closer than I ever thought, closer to giving up than I had ever admitted. And I didn't know if I was okay with that, so I did nothing. I didn't make a decision, didn't tell anyone, didn't announce anything. I just paused, and sometimes that's the most dangerous place to be, because when you pause without direction, it's easy to drift. The next few days felt strange, like I was disconnected from everything, still going through my routine, but without intention, without meaning, like I was just filling time, waiting for something, but I didn't know what. And then something small happened, so small, I almost ignored it. It was a message, not from someone important, not from someone influential, just a regular message, from someone I didn't even talk to often. At first, I almost didn't open it. I wasn't in the mood to respond to anything, but something made me click it anyway. And what I read wasn't long, it wasn't deep, it wasn't life-changing in the way people usually describe things. It was simple. Hey, I just wanted to say, I've been following what you're doing. And I don't know if you realize this, but it actually helped me more than you think. That was it. No long explanation, no dramatic story, just that. And I sat there, adding IT. Again, then again, and something inside me shifted. Not in a big way, not instantly, but enough to interrupt that quiet voice that had been telling me to stop, because for the first time in a long time, I saw something I hadn't been paying attention to. Impact, not the kind you measure with numbers or recognition or external validation, but real impact on a real person. And suddenly, the question changed. It wasn't what's the point anymore. It became, what if the point isn't what I thought it was? That thought stayed with me. It followed me into the next day and the next, and slowly it started to grow, because I realized something important. I had been measuring my progress based on outcomes, big ones, visible ones, the kind that everyone can see. But I had been ignoring something else, the small moments, the quiet ones, the ones that don't look impressive, but matter deeply. And that message, that was one of those moments. And I almost missed it, because I was too focused on what wasn't happening. That realization didn't fix everything. It didn't suddenly make everything make sense, but it did something important. It gave me a reason to pause instead of quit. And sometimes that's all you need. Not a full answer, not a clear path, just a reason to not give up yet. So I made a decision, not a big one, not a permanent one, just a simple one. Keep going, but differently. That was it. No pressure, no expectations, just continue. But without the weight I had been carrying, without attaching my worth to the outcome, without needing everything to make sense right now. And that changed something, because for the first time in a long time, I felt a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room. And in that space, I started to reconnect with something I had lost. Not motivation, not ambition, something deeper to myself. I started asking different questions, not how do I succeed, but why did I start? Not what's next, but what actually matters to me. And those questions led me somewhere unexpected, back to the beginning, back to the reasons that had nothing to do with recognition, nothing to do with results, just. Purpose.real. Personal purpose, the kind that doesn't need validation. To existat and slowly. Things started to feel different, not easier, but clearer. Lighter. More. Real. I wasn't chasing the same way anymore. I wasn't forcing things. I was just showing up honestly or consistently to everything and over time. Something started to happen. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. Things moved. Opportunities came, conversations shifted, but more importantly, I felt aligned again. Like I wasn't fighting myself anymore. Like I wasn't forcing something that didn't feel right. And looking back now, that small moment, that simple message, it didn't change everything by itself, but it changed my direction, just enough to move me away from giving up and toward something real, because sometimes it's not the big moments that save you, it's the small ones, the quiet reminders, the unexpected signals, the things you almost ignore. But if you pay attention, they can shift everything. So if you're in that place right now, that quiet place where you're not sure if you should keep going, I want you to hear this. You don't need a big sign. You don't need everything to make sense. You don't need full clarity. Sometimes, all you need is one small reason, one moment, one reminder that what you're doing matters. Even if you can't fully see it yet, because giving up doesn't always look like a breakdown. Sometimes it looks like silence, like stillness, like slowly disconnecting, and the way back, it doesn't have to be loud either. Sometimes it starts with something small, just small enough to change your direction. That message stayed with me longer than I expected at first. I thought it was just a nice moment, one of those things you read, smile at, and then move on from. But I didn't move on. Not really, because something about it kept replaying in my mind, not the exact words, but the feeling behind them. The idea that something I almost gave up on actually meant something to someone else. That thought felt unfamiliar, because I had spent so much time focused on what wasn't working, that I stopped noticing what was, and once that shift happened, I couldn't ignore it. I started looking at things differently. Not in awe, first of all, not pretending everything was fine, just noticing, paying attention to the small things I used to overlook, like the quiet support, the subtle progress, the moments that didn't look big, but carried weight. And the more I noticed them, the more I realized something uncomfortable. I hadn't just been struggling because things were hard. I had been struggling because my perspective was narrow, focused only on outcomes I could measure, results I could point to, proof that what I was doing mattered, and when those things didn't show up, I assumed nothing was happening, but said wasn't true. It just wasn't visible in the way I expected. That realization didn't solve everything, but it opened something, a different way of seeing, a different way of moving, and I leaned into that carefully because I didn't trust it fully yet. I had been disappointed too, many times, to suddenly believe everything was going to change. So instead of trying to feel motivated, I focused on something simpler. Consistency, not the heavy, exhausting kind one had before, but a lighter version once that didn't require me to prove anything, just show up what I could and leave the rest. Some days that felt easy, other days it felt pointless, like I was back in the same place, questioning everything again, wondering if I would this time something was different, because instead of spiraling into that feeling, I paused. I remembered that moment, that message, that small shift, and I told myself something simple. Just keep going, today. Not forever, not for the next year, just today. And That made it manageable, because when everything feels overwhelming, you don't need a long-term plan, you just need a next step. And I kept taking those steps one day at a time. Not perfectly, not consistently in the way people like to describe success, but honestly and slowly. Something not externally, at first or internally, a quiet kind of strength, the kind that doesn't come from winning, but from continuing, even when you don't feel like it. I started to trust myself again, not in a big, confident way, but in small moments, like finishing something I said I would, like showing up when I didn't feel motivated, like choosing not to quit. Even when the option was right there, and those small choices, they added up more than I expected, because they weren't about proving anything to anyone else. They were about rebuilding something within Emmy, and that mattered more than any external result. But then, something else happened. Expect the one in this timer. It hit differently, not because it was worse, but because I thought I was past that point. I thought I had shifted, grown, moved forward, so when things didn't go the way, I hoped again. It felt frustrating, confusing, like I had taken a step forward, just to end up in the same place, and for a moment, that old feeling came back, that quiet voice. What's the point? But this timer, I didn't let it take over, because I recognized it not as truth, but as a pattern, a familiar reaction, and instead of reacting to it, that this it observed it, without letting it define my next move, and that changed everything, because I realized something important. In that moment, growth doesn't mean things stop being hard, it means you respond differently when they are. And this time, I did. Instead of shutting down, I stayed present. Instead of pulling back, I leaned in, not aggressively, not forcing anything, just staying, and that was new for me, because before, setbacks felt like signals to stop. Now, A felt like part of the process, not something to avoid, but something to move through, and that shift, that was bigger than any result I had been chasing, because it meant I wasn't as fragile as I thought. I wasn't as dependent on outcomes to keep going. I had something else, something stronger, perspective, and with that came resilience. Not Zalabkin, and I kind looks impressive, but the kind that keeps you moving, even when no one sees wer mir wird, and over time. That started to reflect externally, too, not in huge, life-changing ways, but in subtle shifts, small wins, unexpected opportunities, moments that felt like things were finally aligning. And I noticed something else. I wasn't reacting to those moments the way I used to. Before, I would have seen them as validation, proof that I was finally on the right path. But now, I saw them differently, as part of a bigger picture, not the goal, just progress, and that kept me grounded, because I wasn't attaching everything to those moments anymore. I wasn't riding the highs and crashing with the lows. I was steady, consistent, present, and that made the journey feel different, more sustainable, more real looking back. I can see how close I was to giving up, closer than I ever admitted, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I had already started disconnecting, already started letting go, without fully acknowledging it. And if that small moment hadn't happened, if I hadn't read that message, if I had ignored it, things might have gone differently. But that's the thing, you never know which moment will matter, which small shift will change your direction, which reminder will pull you back from the edge. That's why it's important to stay open, even when you're tired, even when you feel like nothing is working, because sometimes the thing you need isn't big, It's small, subtle, easy to miss, but powerful enough to change everything. And I think that's what people don't talk about enough. We focus so much on big breakthroughs, big wins, big turning points. But real change, IT, starts in moments no. Van Els sees in decisions that don't look significant at the time, in shifts that feel almost invisible, until you look back and realize that's where everything started to change. I'm not at the finish line. I don't have everything figured out. I still have moments of doubt, still have days where things feel uncertain, but I'm not in that place anymore. That place where giving up feels like the only option, because now I have something I didn't have before. Not certainty, not guarantees, but direction. And sometimes that's more than enough. Direction changes you in ways you don't notice at first. It's not loud. It doesn't come with a big announcement. No one around you suddenly stops and says, "Wow, something is different about you." It's quieter than that. It shows up in how you think, how you respond, how long you stay down when something doesn't go to me. It's not perfect mindset, but a shift, subtle but real. I started to move differently, not chasing the same way, not forcing outcomes, not attaching my worth to whether something worked or didn't. And that gave me something I didn't have before. Space, mental space, emotional space, the kind of space where you can actually hear yourself again, because when you're constantly pushing, constantly trying to prove something, you lose clarity, lose connection with what you actually feel. And for a long time, that's exactly where I was disconnected, moving, but not aligned. Now that was starting to change. But here's the truth no one really tells you. Just because you find direction again doesn't mean everything suddenly works. It doesn't mean things become easy. It doesn't mean doubt disappears. If anything, it just shows up differently, more subtle, less dramatic, but still there. There were still days where I questioned everything. Days where nothing seemed to move. Days where it felt like I was back at the beginning. And those days, they tested me out, because it would have been so easy to fall back into that old mindset. What's the point? But now, I had something to compare it to. I knew what it felt like to almost give up. I knew how close I had been. And I also knew what pulled me back. That small moment, that message, that shift in perspective. And I wasn't willing to ignore that anymore. So instead of asking, "What's the point?" I started asking something else. What if this moment matters too? Even if it doesn't look like IT, even if there is no visible progress. What if it's still part of something? That question changed how I handled those days. Instead of resisting them, I allowed them, not in a passive way, but in a grounded way. I stopped trying to force meaning into every moment, stopped expecting every effort to lead somewhere immediately, and that made the process feel different, more sustainable, because I wasn't constantly disappointed anymore. I wasn't expecting instant results. I was just continuing, and over time, something started to build again, not just internally this time, externally to opportunities began to show up, small at first, almost easy to overlook, but I didn't overlook them, because now I was paying attention. I saw the patterns, the connections, the way things were slowly aligning, not in a perfect, planned way, but in a natural, unfolding way. And I realized something important. Progress doesn't always look like movement forward. Sometimes it looks like staying consistent, staying grounded, staying committed, even when nothing seems to be happening. And that kind of progress, it's invisible until it's not. There was one moment in particular that made everything click. I was working on something late at night, nothing special. Just a done Bats's timer. It felt different, not because the task had changed, but because I wasn't rushing, I wasn't stressed, I wasn't thinking about the outcome. I was just present.focus.com, and in that moment, I realized something. This is what I was missing. Not success, not validation, but presence. The ability to be fully in what I'm doing, without constantly thinking about what comes next. Because for so long, I had been living in the future, chasing something ahead of me, trying to get somewhere, and in that process, I forgot how to be where I was, and that disconnection. That's what made everything feel empty. But now, I was reconnecting with that, and it changed how everything felt even the same. Tasks, the same routines, the same efforts, they didn't feel heavy anymore, because I wasn't carrying the same pressure. I wasn't forcing them to mean something bigger. I was just allowing them to be what they were. And that's when I understood something deeply. The reason I almost gave up wasn't just because things were hard. It was because I had lost connection with the process. I had turned everything into a result, a destination, a measurement of success or failure, and when those results didn't come, I felt like I was failing. But now I saw it differently. The process wasn't something to endure. It was something to experience, to learn from, to grow through. And that shift, it changed everything, because now I wasn't waiting for a moment to feel like it was worth it. I could feel that in the moment itself, and that made it easier to keep going, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And that's a different kind of energy. It's not forced, it's not desperate, it's steady, not real, sustainable. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't before. Giving up doesn't always come from failure. Sometimes it comes from disconnection, from losing sight of why you started, from turning something meaningful into something heavy. And the way back, it's not always about pushing harder. Sometimes it's about stepping back, reconnecting, shifting your perspective, and finding that small thing. Again, that small reason, that small moment that reminds you why it matters. Because that's what saved me. Not a big breakthrough, not a life-changing opportunity, just something small, easy to ignore, but powerful enough to change my direction. And that's the part I want you to remember. If you're in that place right now, where everything feels heavy, where nothing seems to move, where giving up feels closer than continuing, you don't need everything to change overnight. You don't need a big sign. You don't need full clarity. You just need something small, something real, something that reminds you that what you're doing still matters, even if you can't fully see it yet, because direction doesn't always come from big decisions. Sometimes it comes from small shifts, the kind you almost miss, the kind that don't feel important at the time, but later you realize that was the moment everything started to change. So don't ignore the small things. Don't overlook quiet moments. Don't assume that just because something isn't big, it isn't meaningful, because sometimes those are the moments that save you, the ones that pull you back just enough to keep going. And sometimes that's all you need.